Hello, hello. How we doing today? Welcome, welcome. Hold on, my volume might be a little low. Yep, there we go. All right, how we doing, everybody? Welcome back. How is everyone doing on this day after a win, the start of the week? Everybody seems to have calmed down. Everybody seems to be a little more settled. I think this win certainly was really important for United to get it for obvious reasons, but for other reasons as well, which is of course that I think it's in the fan base. I think it settles everyone, the fact that we were able to kind of bounce back, get a win after Everton, after everything that happens. But yeah, yes, good to see you all here. Hope you're all doing well. Yes, Jason, get Anderson next summer and we're sorted. Agreed. We need that. We need him badly. We need him very badly. But I do think, honestly, we need more. Sooner than that, I think we need more, or we could end up in trouble. I mean, when you look at the league right now, it is a genuine dogfight for these European places. It is so, like, crazy. It's so tight. It's so tight at the moment. We need something. We're going to need something if we're going to separate ourselves a little bit and be sure that we end up where we need to by the end of the season. No doubt about that. And I don't think it's a sure thing. I think that so long as Šeško, Cunha, most of our key guys stay fit, we will start to get a little bit more momentum than we've had right now, because it's been a little, certainly we lack a little when they're there, and I think we'll be more consistent when we're there. But yeah, we need more options. We seriously need more options right now. All right, let me just tweet this out and we'll get going. All right, there we go. Okay, cool. So anyway, hopefully everybody is good. So yeah, there's a few things that this game against Palace taught us, in my opinion, because it was a man-to-man game. Because it was a game, and it's funny because we've talked about in the past how I actually think this team struggles a little bit more with man-to-man teams than they do against four at the backs. They struggle with teams that play three at the back, that play wide, all of that. Even Everton, one of the things that obviously David Moyes did very well, but certainly it had a significant, in my opinion anyway, impact on how we played and why we had such a hard time in that game, is because he went very, very wide with the defending. He went very, very wide with defending. Pretty much was man-to-man with those very, defensive fullbacks, defensive wingers, and shut us down quite a lot. When we play against three at the back and we're man-to-man, one of the best things that you get to see is that individual one-on-one matchup, across the board from the players, one-to-one. I did a rewatch after the game. I did a rewatch in going through it this morning to make the tactical video that I put together. And it's so blatantly obvious when we go into a man-to-man setting where the problem lies. And certainly nothing is going to change without fixing the midfield. Nothing is going to change. It's just, we're going to be like this very, very often. The question on Wharton there, which I get, and I got to tell you on the rewatch, I'm not sure. Yeah, Brentford did the exact same, exactly. And they beat us man-to-man everywhere there. The question with Wharton is, that he's certainly not the most physical. He's certainly not the fastest. He's certainly not got insane intensity in terms of mobility of getting around. We've seen Baleba, we've seen Anderson, we've seen Wharton now. Anderson, far and away, the most impressive player in of the three. He's just everything. Physically, he's going to win all of his battles. He's going to do everything. But I disagree on the idea of Wharton not being a good defender. I think quite differently. I think that he's one of those shields I see as like an Nemanja Matic. Nemanja Matic was never the most athletic, player, never covered the most amount of ground. Maybe similar to Casemiro, but a lot better at the present. Casemiro, when he was younger, was certainly more mobile and athletic, but I see him similar to Nemanja Matic. He's going to be a player who knows where to be at all times, and he knows where to sit in front of the back line. And I think it's really, really underrated, Wharton's performance there. Every time there was a loose ball, he was where he should be to pick it up. Every time we would try to progress it in the middle, he was in the passing lane. He did a lot without having to run all over the place. He did that a lot without having to press everywhere, right? The question, of course, is, which I get, is how does that scale up if we're trying to be more attacking? I don't think it's a problem, because the number 6, the sitting sort of 6, doesn't need to be insanely mobile. That's not really Casemiro's problem. I mean, Casemiro's problem is definitely mobility. There's no doubt about that. But one of the bigger problems that Casemiro has as well is that in possession, he's just he can't dribble with the ball. Everything is one touch. Everything is instant and all of that. So he can't settle the game down. He can't evade the pressure. He can't, move and manipulate a defense and things like that. I watched, obviously I look similarly at what Ruben used at Sporting in Yeoman, who's not the fastest player, not the most physical, player, but really, really high intelligence. And I compare it and I say, well, if all we need was out of possession was the energy, well, then Ugarte would be doing fine right now, because he runs around, makes a lot of tackles, things like that. He's got one of the best stats actually in the league still for the minutes he's on and running around making tackles. It's that Wharton is just, I think Wharton could work. And if Baleba was performing to the level that we would want, great. But as I've said before, I would never in a million years pair Wharton and Bruno. I would never pair Wharton and Bruno together, because that is a recipe for disaster. That is a recipe for disaster. And Wharton's still young. Don't get me wrong. He's still young. But you absolutely want to pair Wharton with the abilities that he has on the ball with somebody who is a physical, ground-eating monster that has a good defensive awareness, that is very good at covering play. But I'm telling you, do not underestimate just how good Wharton was defensively in terms of all of his awareness of the game is absolutely top-notch. The way he reads the game is really, really, really good. And I think because he's not running around flying into tackles, people aren't seeing it. But in and out of possession, he was still running our midfield in circles. He was absolutely still running circles around our midfield. He was always finding spaces to receive the ball. And when we had the ball, he was always there. And he was winning second balls and doing everything. We need to rebuild. We need to rebuild the whole midfield. It has to be both. Here's the thing with Anderson, right? You get Anderson no matter what. You get Anderson, period. With Wharton, like, if you could only get one, you 100,000,000% get Anderson. Don't get me wrong here, okay? Don't get me wrong. You absolutely get Anderson. But if you get two, I think Wharton is the perfect foil. I think Wharton is the perfect foil to someone like Anderson, the perfect guy who's going to, shield the defense properly, but has really, really incredible on-ball traits as well. In everything, and essentially with similar stats and similar systems, similar ideas, similar concepts, it would work extremely well. And again, Wharton is young. Wharton is young, and he will continue to grow. But I'm just saying, like, he's good. He's quite good. He's quite good. But it has to be the right pairing. It has to be the right pairing. That's the really, really important part. I mean, look, you could throw Anderson next to Casemiro right now, and he would make Casemiro look twice as good as he does today, because Anderson is so, incredible in that respect, and his ground coverage and things. He'll cover up a lot of flaws just by sticking him in your midfield, Will Anderson. But it's just the right pairing. So that's what we need later on. But I am worried about Anderson and City and these other clubs coming in for him. I'm worried. I've been saying for months, we're going to have a ton of competition next summer. We're going to have a ton of competition for these guys next summer. We're going to have a lot of fight. How are we going to win that competition? How are we going to beat them? How are we going to be the guys that convince them to join? How do we convince these guys to join? How are we going to stand out in the crowd, from everybody else? That's a serious question that, we've got to ask. And that's my biggest concern right now. And the only way that we are going to beat these other guys, the only way that we are going to beat these other clubs is, of course, very likely we're going to need to be in Champions League. We're going to need to be competing. We're going to need to have the money, obviously, to throw out these clubs, big money. But we're also going to need to present a really convincing case. If we can get Champions League, I think it's done deal. We can get these players. We've never had a problem convincing players when we have Champions League. If we get Europe at all, we have a decent chance, I think, but I think it's still 50-50. If we get Europe, I think we have a very good case to present to these clubs, to these players, which is say, look, we are on the rise. We are on the up and up. We are improving. And there's more to go. That's where we're at. We convince players when we finish 15th, but you can't convince them if you finish 15th again. The same discussions won't work, I promise. And knowing what they talked to them about and, what they sold them on and everything like that, we're not going to convince them again if we get 12th or 15th or something like that. You know what I mean? That's not going to happen again. So we're going to have to climb the table if we are to be convincing on this, to show them, look, yes, our rebuild is working. What we said would happen, it's happening. We're on the way. So the question is, what do we do? Because the Palace game, being a man-to-man game against a mirror team, again, yes, it's not an identical system, blah, 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 all of that. Don't care. Formation isn't system, whatever. It's still similar enough that you get a mirror image. They ran through that midfield, man, like it was nothing. Knife through butter for most of that, for probably the first 55 minutes, okay? Even at the end of the game, I mean, we were really in danger of conceding there with some of the mistakes and things that were happening. I hear this talk about, the things about Wharton and such, falling off in the second half. The whole Palace team fell off in the second half. We definitely got lucky. That's where the one game a week helps us. We definitely got a little bit lucky that their levels dropped, and by, correlation, ours went up a little, and it flipped the game on its head, and we were allowed to show some quality. But certainly, that's a big part of everything. We just lost the battles one-on-one across many different positions, but especially in the middle. especially in the middle. We lost all the battles. I mean, Casemiro lost battles the entire game. Bruno improved in the second half, but we still lose those battles, and nothing's going to change that. I'm not even going to sit there and say, oh, well, it's Casemiro. He's too lazy. He's not intense enough. He needs to up the energy. How? How? How are we gonna get Casemiro to up his levels? We can't. It's not his fault. We've got an engine with 200,000 miles on it. There's nothing we can do about that. Nothing we do is going to make it so that Casemiro and Bruno can play a high physical, high intensity pressing game. Never gonna happen. There's nothing we can do about it. We need to accept that. So the only answer is to step into the market. There is no other answer. We have to step into the market because it is so tight for these league positions. I mean, look, 30th, 30 points, 21 points, okay? I mean, we're 9 off the title, which is probably closer than we've been for a long time after 13 games, but we're arguably 1 point off of Champions League positions, but also maybe 4 points off of 15th. It is fine margins that are going to separate us. And when I start to look at performance, here's where I'm like, ooh, we've got to press ahead. We've got to do something. We have to press ahead and do something, because if you look at our performances, some of it, as we kind of expected, as normalized. Our chance creation, we sit about 6th, right? So it used to be 1st, 2nd. It's a little lower right now. Not surprising. Last few games, we've struggled with chance creation without Šeško, without Cunha. When we lose some players, our chance creation drops. No surprise. But at the same time, our expected goals against has improved dramatically too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th. So we've gone to 6th in chance creation, 7th in chances against. We're on the edge. Now, in terms of expected points, we're right there. We're where we're supposed to be. We're not like a clear shoe-in based on all the numbers for we're around 6th. That's probably fair. We're right around 6th. We're really, really fair. That's where we should be. That's what our performance levels dictate. That's what our squad dictates. We are an arguably 6th best team in the league. So if everything goes right, we'll get Europe. We'll get Europa. If we falter, the margins aren't big enough to even guarantee Europa. But it also means that Champions League is so close, man. It's so close within our grasp. We can be there. We can get there. We could get there. We could get there, and we've got to go for it. It's so not a shoo-in, man. It's so not a shoo-in getting back into Europe. Like it's, especially getting into Europa League or Champions League in particular. It is so far from a shoo-in to get there.
James, seeing everything we need to go all out to get a top MF in January. Gomez is good depth, but we need starters. We have to give it our all in Jan, with Dub C and competition. You're right, it's risky.
The problem is I just don't think it's possible, Like I don't think it's a question of going for it. I think it's a question of, is it possible? And the answer is I think literally no. It isn't possible. I don't think we can get, no matter what we do, I don't think we can get Lammens. Sorry, we're reading a comment from it. No matter what we do, I don't think we can get one of those top midfielders in January. I just don't think it's possible. But we need more than that. But it's also the fact that I look at it like this, watching that Palace game. We don't need Anderson to upgrade our midfield. Our midfield is the worst in the Premier League. From a competitive pairing, out of possession, it is the worst in the entire Premier League. It is. I'm sorry to say, but it is. It is the worst. We have faced everybody week in and week out, week in, week out. What midfield Have we won the battle? Which midfield have we beaten yet? We played Brentford. We lost to their midfield in that game. Our midfielders lost to their midfields. Even Brighton, it was 50-50.
What about LWB?
We'll talk about left wing back here in a second. Good question. We lost to that. We lost to Forest midfield. We lost to Spurs midfield. We lost to Everton's midfield. And we lost again to Palace's midfield. When we ended up scoring and when we ended up getting goals, both of them came via Mount winning the ball, getting it out wide to Dalot, Shaw sending the ball up to Xerxes, it going to Dalot. We finally got some space in the wide areas and got through and then scored. And I'm not talking about their talent. Yeah, Liverpool, we might have actually won the Winfield battle, which just shows how shambolic Liverpool is right now, by the way. But it's not even, some of it's the in possession traits. Casemiro in possession frustrates me to no end. Is insistence on playing one-touch football, being unable to just pause the game for half a second. Out of possession, it's the worst in the league. And yes, that's the oldest. That's why. That's it. We don't have to overcomplicate it. We don't have to overcomplicate it. It's the worst out of possession midfield in the league. And even the Liverpool game, can you say we won the midfield battle? Because we certainly got overrun in the middle. It's just we defended pretty well. I think it was a good performance. It was a difficult game, but I wouldn't say we even clearly won, But yeah, it's like, what else can we do, And then I look at the next matches and I think, well, actually, I think Sunderland, we did win the midfield battle. I think that's the only game. I spoke about that in my tactical video earlier. I actually think Sunderland was the only game we won the midfield battle. And I remember saying after that game, the best thing I can say about Bruno and Casemiro is we did not notice them. But as the season's gone on, as more games have happened, they've clearly been getting more tired. They've struggled more to compete and keep up at a physical level. It's just the facts of it. And we expect that because of their age. When we look at the upcoming games against West Ham, maybe. Against Wolves. Wolves have 2 points. I watched them again this weekend. We won't win the midfield battle against Gomez and Andre. We won't. Gomez and Andre are better. Will win the battle against Bruno and Casemiro. They will. Gomez was really good at the weekend. For how bad Wolves are, I really, really wish we'd save Gomez because he was actually really good. For Wolves, despite how bad they are, it's crazy. But Andre and Gomez will be better than our midfield in that game. They will. They will certainly outwork and outrun us and out-physical us and muscle us in that respect. So it's going to be hard even to see in that game how we can dominate, in that game. Even as bad as they are, it's hard to see it. How many games did you bet with KG Shaw will play? 20. We're at 13 already. And then you've got Villa, Onana, Kamara. They're going to run all over us. We're screwed in the middle with these midfielders. We're screwed. Yeah, Wolves deserved more out of that game for sure. They were actually pretty good. So it's tough, man. It's tough. It's a problem. It's so blatantly obvious there. Someone asked, I think Marcus, you asked, where have we been since Lamens? And the answer is 5th. So we're just on the cusp, but tied with 6th. We're on the cusp, man. We're on the cusp right now. It's so tight. Obviously, it could separate out over the next few weeks. No doubt about that. It could separate out over the next few weeks. And then, maybe that's what they're waiting for, to take advantage of the situation and decide whether they're going to go for somebody. Maybe that's it. But we're also going to end up losing Masraoui, Ahmad, and Mbumo right at the at a pretty bad time. So that's concerning, we're going to have to play. Oh, God, I'm not looking for that Newcastle game because no matter how bad Newcastle have been or how much they've struggled, that midfield is going to kill ours. Kill ours, just like they do every year. They kill our midfield because they're just energy balls. They're physical energy balls in the middle. They just run all over us. It's going to be painful. But yeah, it's a struggle, man. We've got to do something. We've got to do something about it. And in terms of what we can do in January, the two biggest possibilities in the midfield are probably our Ederson and Gomez, as far as we know. Those are the two biggest opportunities in there. That's what I think. We kind of have the evidence of it, you know, and honestly, both would actually make a pretty solid partnership. But yeah, this game has proven, it is undeniable, no matter what you think. And I think everybody has agreed with it now. I was really shocked. I did the red carpet a couple hours ago. It's been a few weeks, but I did the red carpet a couple hours ago with them, KG, Flex, everybody. I'm so surprised at how everybody has woken up to the truth and is on the same page. Because everybody sat there and said, yeah, we need better players. We need better midfielders. We can't be sentimental about it. We've got to get players that can do more. We have to. Everybody agreed. I was shocked to see that much agreement on that panel on that. You know, because I know that Flex, KG, you know, back and forth at times. I'm not accusing them of anything. Back and forth at times have been very pro, anti, this, that, and the other. But everybody sees it now and agrees. And I think the Palace game was a massive, massive screaming neon sign that says it's the players. We don't know how high up Amram is in terms of his ceiling, but it's the players. Stuart with 10 gifted memberships to the community. Thank you so much, Stuart. You've been incredible. Thank you for support and all of that. Thank you. As always, Stuart, really, really appreciate you very much for all the support. I really do. It means a lot. If Man City go after Anderson, it's going to be tough. Yeah, I know. I'm very worried about that, Jason. I'm very, very worried about that, Jason. Valverde links, would be the best midfielder we could possibly sign for this position, by the way. But I don't know about that one. That seems impossible. You never know with the craziness that's going on in Madrid, I suppose, but whatever. Yes, thank you, Stuart. Appreciate that so much. What's up, Slices? How you doing? But yeah, I mean, look, if City go for Anderson, it's going to be tough. The only chance we have, I think, is if we're also in Champions League. You know what I mean? Seeing Wharton play against Casemiro displays the massive goals and quality there is with the midfield. Exactly. But yeah, I was really, really shocked to see how everybody seemingly has woken up to this. I posted a clip of a live from, I think it was Friday or something like that. You know, I do those little clips and things, and it goes on TikTok. But last week I posted a clip of saying we have no idea how high the ceiling is for this manager. No idea. It may not be high. He may not be the guy in the long term. We genuinely have no clue. But he is rebuilding the squad. He is putting the pieces of the puzzle in place. He is following through with a system and an idea that is club-led, that is getting us on track, helping to improve recruitment, and getting us where we need to be. And each game that goes by, we see that there are massive holes that still need to be filled, and it is hard to pass judgment until we see that. Once we do, once we fix the midfielders, once we fix these positions, and we actually have players who are competitive at the Premier League level in these positions, then it's going to be very easy to look at Amram and say, are you getting the maximum out of this squad or not? And at that point, you make a change if he isn't, and you stick with it if he is. And if he is, we're going to be winning things. And if we're not winning things and it's not going well, then you replace him at that point in time. It's very, very easy to do so then, and it's the right thing to do at that point in time. But then the Palace game happened, and it confirmed it, I think, beyond any shadow of a reasonable doubt. We need better players. There is nothing we can do without better players to make it more consistent, more predictable, and to elevate the levels at where we're at. We have to get better players. Nothing much is going to change until then. So it's good to see. I think everybody is on and in agreement on that. We saw it when we went up against Anderson. We saw it when we went up against Wharton. They're better than our midfielders. So if we level it up and win those individual battles, and the fact that we played against a mirror system shows it, because it was 1-to-1. There's no, oh no, we're just outnumbered in the middle. Oh, it's 4 against 2 in the middle. None of that bullshit. Nobody can say it, because we played the same system and they ran over us. 2 against 2. It's the best thing. It's the best thing, because now we know the truth and everybody's on the same page. Everybody's on the same page. You can sweep it under the rug, but when you go up against quality players, it shows. Exactly. 115 charges. It's our last chance. Yeah. Have to win the next 2 games. No excuse. For sure, though. You know, the next 2 games are against 2 really, really, really poor teams. And we have to do better in those games. No doubt. We have to. But like I said, we're going to struggle. It's no surprise. We're going to struggle in games we need to dominate, because no matter how bad these teams are, we still lose a lot of physical battles. But we still manage to win. And that's the good part. That's the promising part about the Palace game. And it's because of quality, you know? I mean, 2 set pieces, 2 really good finishes. We have the quality in this team, and it's going to carry us. It's going to carry us until we can upgrade the team, you know? And obviously, when we're lacking Šeško and Cunha, we're lacking a lot of that quality. Hopefully, they come back strong. But Cunha will be back. He's back in training. I hope he starts. Now, you know, the positive here is, look, I've said hope. I would love us to get Semenyo or something like that. But I've changed my mind again, by the way. I know that that's something that's a crime in football. I know it's a crime in discussion. I've changed my mind. I think that a left wing and a left attacking player is ultra important to help us, because when Daulo has a good game, you can see how it goes. But I think we could find solutions out there. We cannot solve the midfield. So I've changed my mind. The midfield's more important right now. We need a new midfielder. But I think it's in part the reason I've changed my mind is because Casemiro's gotten worse as the season's gone on. He had a good start to the year, and his legs look worse and worse, and so do Bruno's. It looks like they're fading. So in fairness, there's new evidence. I thought at least, it started the season, I was saying, looks like Bruno can keep up at least. He lacks some awareness in certain areas, but it didn't seem to be a legs problem. But the last few games, it's been getting worse and worse and worse. And I think the minutes are too much. I think they can't handle it. I think that, the left wing back's vital, but I don't think that Casemiro can handle it. The longer the season goes on, the worse it's going to get, I think, not the better. Partially because he's back in Brazil. So he didn't get the breaks playing for Brazil. And then he's got to play all these games. I think it's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. The legs are going. They're on a downward trend through the course of this season. So it's elevated as a problem for me above the wingback because it's declined even over the course of the last 5 or 6 weeks. Even when we've been decent, it's been declining in those areas. So it's rough. It's rough, man. The wheels are rubbing out. So, Fabrizio said this: Semenyo is appreciated by United and Amarin, but United are not in active talks over a deal at this stage. I mean, we know that. They're focused on spending big money in other positions such as midfield. So that's an interesting way to put it, because it would imply, right, which we did know, obviously, that this was the main priority, though I still hold out a small amount of hope that maybe we'll go, you know what? Let's go get Semenyo anyway. Let's just go do it anyway, But that we have money being put there. Now, the interesting part about that is that Semenyo is available in January because he has a release clause. So if we're deciding to put our money for other areas, we should be planning to spend in January. I've said before, I haven't changed on this front of being a good feeling that we will spend in January. I do think so from everything I've heard. I think we'll get someone in January. But it does sound like more and more like we might take advantage of one of these opportunities, because Fabrizio, for example, keeps saying we won't get one of our big guys in January, Baleba, Wharton, Anderson. He keeps saying that we won't. And he keeps saying we have these other opportunities for January, and keeps saying we have the money that we're not going to spend in January for Semenyo because we want something else. Everything that's going on does paint a picture to me that we're going to get something in January. That we must get something in January. We must. We've got to. It's something in January. The three opportunities that have been named that I know United have looked at are Gomez, Gallagher, and Ederson. I have looked at all three of those. They are all three opportunities. I think Gallagher's far and away my least preferred of that. Though, again, I would not say no to anyone with a fucking heartbeat that can run around a lot, which Gallagher can do. And I don't think he's that bad, actually. But I think he's actually a decent player. But I think Gomez is better. And I think that Ederson is a good player as well, with a little bit more risk given coming from Italy. But it feels like we're going to get one of them in January. It just feels like we're going to get one of them in January. Unless we know of something else in the works. Those are the three names we know that we've at least followed, that we've at least watched, and at least have seen as opportunity, while our major players we know are not available to summer. It feels like we're going to get one of the three. It feels like we'll make the decision and we'll go for it for one of those three. And we have to. Good God, we have to, We've got to do it. We can't afford to not do it. It's an absolute must, without question, to get one of these guys. So, yeah, hopefully we do. I think I polled it last time in terms of Gomez versus Ederson, and Gomez won. I'm sure Gallagher's not going to win, but I watched Gomez again this weekend, and he's really good. He was really good for Wolves against Villa. They actually deserved a lot more out of that game, to be honest. Emi Martinez kept them in it, but Gomez is good, man, and he's Premier League experienced. He's there. He's doing it right now. He's physical. He's fast. He's all of that. Speaking of left wing back, though, look, it's hard to take. Sometimes it's hard to take Plettenberg seriously, but this is our second link to said player. Nathaniel Brown, 22-year-old left back. Real watching him. Barcelona watching. Manchester United watching. He's the perfect guy. Like, if we're going to talk about what Amorim said, where he said, I really want we're talking about wanting an Ahmad on the left. That's Nathaniel Brown. To a T. It's Nathaniel Brown. He is probably the most similar he's the most similar player, that there is to Ahmad on that side. Very, very similar. If you wanted to put to build him in a lab for that that Ahmad on the other side, it would be him for sure. I mean, even statistically, wingbacks and fullbacks have weird numbers, but he's the first player you even see statistically looks like Ahmad. on one of these charts. You know, the price is high, but the thing is like, what would you pay for Ahmad? What would you pay for Ahmad to play out there? You know what I'm saying? What would you pay for Ahmad to get that type of talent out there? I'd pay a lot because it's such an important position to get someone who can really attack, you know? You'd only pay 50 for Ahmad. I think Ahmad's worth more than that, honestly. I think Ahmad's worth a lot more. I'd probably pay 60 to 80 million euros for someone like Ahmad for that position. That position is huge out wide there, you know. But I guess my point is, who cares about the money? You know, that's where we need to be at. Forget the money. How do we build a team properly? Who else can we get that's really good, that brings that kind of attacking quality? You know what I'm saying? That is that good. That's what we have to look at. You know, there's a point, hopefully we just look at prices. I'm not saying we have to go crazy in terms of overpaying, but like, there's a point where we just have to look at this and say, what is it going to cost to get the players we need? You know, how much does Njai cost? How much will Njai cost us next summer? I don't know. If it's 60 million, should we do it? 100% we should do it. You know, we should do it. You know, it doesn't matter. Just do it. It's like we need this level of player in the team. We need the really good players. We need players who, but more importantly, we need players who match, right? We need players who match the profile of what we need. We need players that match the, you know, the idea of what we need. That's the most important thing. And that's going to let us build a squad. So we'll see there. I mean, because we're going to need a wide attacker this summer. We're going to need a wide attacker this summer. Yeah, downgrading on height, fine. I mean, whatever. I don't know. It's hard to measure that in terms of wide players. Ahmad is short, and he doesn't, you know, yeah, we can get done at the back post, but the idea with the whole system is you don't need your wingbacks defending at the back post if you've actually set up your team properly. Would you spend the 65 on Semenyo? 100% in a heartbeat, I would. I just don't care about the money. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously you want to be right in terms of your valuation of players and things like that. But it's like Anderson. It's like when we used to talk about Rice. I always use the Rice as the example of when we're talking about it. I'm not saying Nathaniel Brown is that guy. I'm just saying like that we should pay whatever it costs. But I'm saying in general, the way that we need to think about it is, how convinced are we? Not how good are they? How convinced are we that they're the right guy? You know? Declan Rice was obvious. We balked at 50 million, then he improved. Then we balked at 80 million, and he improved. Then we balked at 100 million, and he went for 100. What's he worth? It's immeasurable. The limit, there is no worth. You know what I mean? Because if your goal is winning titles, you win titles when you get the right players in the right positions who are good enough. There is no money factor really that matters for the biggest teams. I think that Madrid have probably never really cared about what they've paid in transfer fees over the years. You know, I think they've never cared what they've paid. Madrid, they've paid 100, they've paid 120, they've paid less, they've paid more. It's sort of irrelevant. It's sort of irrelevant. You just do what you got to do.
Gallagher in January, then go all in for Elliott.
That would be great.
Summer.
That would be great. Obviously, if they would prefer that loan for Gallagher, not to buy him outright. That is 100% for sure. If they could get a loan for Gallagher, I think he'll be there January 1st. But I don't know if that's going to happen. You know, it's funny because like not only we've overpaid drastically on bad players at times, but it's not because we overpaid. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't think about the price for players that worked, for players that we were convinced on. We only think about the price for players that it didn't work. But we always knew it wasn't going to work. They knew Anthony was crap. And we paid 80 million plus. We knew it. It's not about us paying 80 million, it's that he was shit. And they knew it. Even Sancho, there was big doubts from a number of people within the club, but you know, there was another view of excitement over him, but there was a lot of people with big doubts. The head scout said, forget Sancho. Go buy Kane and spend the money. You know, the head scout said that, said, forget it, go get Kane. And what did we do with Kane? We said, oh, we don't want to pay the money. We don't want to pay 100 million for Kane. We don't want to pay those wages. How stupid, you know? It's like, it's so funny. It's just so funny how we end up like that, how we do those types of things. You know? It's just funny. We pass up the players we're utterly convinced on because of the price and end up paying significantly more. You know what I mean? And then we end up paying significantly more for crap instead. You know, buy right instead of buying twice. Yeah, and like I say, that's fair on Brown. He might not be the exact right guy, but it's just I'm just saying in general is the way we have to think about it.
Maybe with Gomez.
I don't think we could get Brown in January. It doesn't sound like he'd be available in January. But I also think Njai is probably more likely a major target that we like. You know, Holland is a great example. We knew he was the right guy. We knew he was the right guy. We knew he was a top striker. And we balked at doing the deal in the terms that they wanted because of like expense or cost or different factors and things like that. We should have just gone for it. You know, we knew, man. We knew he was going to be a fucking stud, and we just screwed it up. Do you see us testing any clubs with a huge offer now instead of... I mean, there's always the possibility that come early January, we just go, all right, I know you've said he's not for sale, but what if we paid 100? Would you sell? There's always a possibility we do that just to test the waters, but always the possibility. Yeah, Raiola wanted control of the player's future. He had a release clause at City that was hidden, and then they restructured his contract. So we refused to do that. They didn't. You know, but to me, that's a similar point. So what? We sell him for a profit in 3 years? So what? Who cares? Who fucking cares? What a 3 years it would have been. And then if you would have left, we would have 150 million and a ton of profit to go spend. Who cares? I think that one was, we should have just done it. Like, you know, especially where we were at. Like, it's not like United were presenting this top incredible, you know, project. Who cares, man? If we had, we're going to have to turn around and sell a player for 150 million, you know, whatever. So what, you know, it's such something I never cared about particularly. But yeah, interesting stuff. Oh, sorry, I missed that one. Oh no, I did answer that. I don't think we can get Brown in January. No. I would like Gomez and Gallagher in January and then go all in for Elliott in summer. Yeah, I mean, 100% we should go. I'll be totally happy with that plan. Totally happy with that plan. Semenyo chances are low, but I do think all signs are pointing to the idea that we're going to invest in the midfield and that we may have a chance at going for it in January. Then maybe we can get somebody. I think that our most likely signings are Ederson, Gomez, or Gallagher. It's got to be one of those. That's what it looks like to me. I don't see... It's hard to see past them in terms of what's available right now. It's hard to see past those guys. It is. It's definitely hard to see past them as options. So yeah. But anyway, yeah, those are my thoughts. I think that this Palace game was really good. I think it sent a clear message to most of the fan base to be sensible. The Palace game really, really made it clear. Going man for man, we lose the battles in the middle. We can't win the midfield. Going up against guys like Wharton, we're getting overrun. The mirror system, it's not about numbers, it's not about tactics. We're just getting beat, fought, outworked at many different positions. It's player issue. I think that message will be understood as well by the board. I think it was a very illuminating game for the people at the board level as well. I think it would be a very illuminating game for Wilcox and Cohen watching that with Amram and saying, mirror system, look at us losing our battles. And I think that game, the fact that we won is really, really good because we need the points. But I think the struggles in that game are really important. And I think they will push us to make a move in January to get someone. I think that they will force their hand to look at it and say, yep, no doubt about it anymore. We need players. We need players. So I think it was important in that respect because it removes the doubt. Playing different teams and systems and waffle about tactics and such. That game should have removed the doubt for anybody. Not that the tactics are perfect, not that the system's perfect, but that is very obviously largely a player issue.
What do you think the plan is for sure? I think Amorim know he is more prone to injury when he is running up and down the left.
I don't know what the plan is, especially with Lissandro coming back. It's hard to say, right? It's hard to know how that's going to balance out, who's going to play. Maybe they're going to rotate. He's obviously not really wanted Shaw to be running up and down the left side in terms of staying fit and injury. In the second half, Bruno dropped in a little and Shaw went up and everything. Which helped a little bit too, because Shaw is really good when he's aggressive and runs forward. But I don't know what the plan is there. I mean, right now, I doubt there's no way he's going to bench Shaw. You know what I'm saying? Will he move him to accommodate Lissandro? Or will Lissandro just do sub minutes for a while? Probably the latter. Maybe he'll even give Lissandro a try on a different side because he's so technically gifted. It's possible. So I don't know. I don't know the answer. The commentator on TNT Sports says, even said, the system means it's a man-to-man game and it comes down to player battles, that it comes down to player quality, not system. Correct. And again, that's why I think this Palace game was so illuminating. And it's led to a large level of agreement among United people, you know, at the club too. It's so illuminating because it really proves the point. When we win our battles, we're better. When we lose our battles, we're worse. You know, it's like two different games, the first half and the second half, in that respect. So really, really important. One thing that really irritates me, though, I mean, look, I know you got somebody spamming the comments constantly. Free Copy Manu, free Copy Manu, free Copy Manu, and all that. You know, when we lose, it's all, you know, there's just, it's a clamoring overload that it's Amarim, it's Amarim, and Amarim. And from some people, when we win, instead of being happy or being willing to change their perspective or willing to observe what's going on, when we win, now it's look at how Kabi Manu is being mistreated. Like, who are you a fan of? You know what I'm saying? Are you a fan of United or are you a fan of Kabi Manu? And where are your perspectives? You know what I'm saying? Where's your perspective on this? Where are your priorities? Where do they lie? With the club or with Kabi? Because if your first thought after we win a game is, but Kabi didn't play, it might be time for a refresh on perspectives. You know? This has been a challenging period. You know, it's really funny because I've gone from a year ago being constantly accused of being like a Rashford PR guy. I don't know, you guys remember. You guys will remember this. Most of you have been here for this time. You know, a year ago, I was getting accused of being a Rashford PR guy, and I said, "Look, Rashford is easily one of my favorite players of the post-Fergie era for United. Love him, still do." But I said when Emram joined, we just have to be smart about this. I remember specifically saying, and I didn't expect it to happen, but I remember when Emram joined, I said, "Look, I've seen enough to say that it's a mess from the players and that we need a manager to sort the team out once and for all and to follow a plan. And whoever has to go or whoever doesn't make it or whatever, I'm going to back it because we have to do it for once and follow it through top to bottom." And I said, and I remember even saying, even if it ends up being Rashford, you have my word, I will not turn on the manager because it's a player that they don't get on with. And I didn't expect it to be Rashford. I thought he was going to thrive. I really did. Now, things happened. I don't even blame Amorim. I'm not saying Rashford is crap or anything at all. Not even a little bit. I've said 1,000 times, the best possible thing for Rashford was that he could leave, and it was just the right thing to do. But that was a turning point when I said, unfortunately, I just don't think, I don't think people have the introspection to understand what's going on this. On what's going on here. And it's going to continue to be like that. I think it requires a lot. And I'm not talking about criticizing the manager. I'm not talking about things like that. I'm not talking about having critics of system. I'm talking about this specific thing of when we win and it's good, using Kobbie Mainoo as a stick to beat the manager. Using Kobbie Mainoo struggling as a stick to beat the manager is so weird to me. To me, it's very fake. I'm sorry, but it is. It's like, well, let me find a picture of Kobbie and use... You're not a fan of Kobbie Mainoo even. What are you doing? What is that? It's really, really weird behavior. It's so weird behavior. Take a picture of someone you don't know, Kobbie Mainoo, you don't know, you don't speak to, you know nothing about him, you're not his friend, you're not his buddy, you are a parasocial Twitter account hiding behind a faceless profile, a lot of people. And you're using these things and then using a picture of Kobbie Mainoo to twist the situation so you can use him to beat the manager with. It's weird. It's weird. It's weird. It's very, very strange. It's very, very strange behavior. And it's like, what are you doing? And I think more people are waking up to it, but it's weird, man. It's genuinely weird. It just is. You don't know these people. You don't know Kobbie Mainoo, just like you didn't know Anthony Martial or any of them. You don't know them. They're not your friends. I really like Kobbie Mainoo, and I really hope he doesn't leave. And the best thing that I could see happen is hopefully we sign a number 6 that gives us the opportunity to play with Kobbie Mainoo. I'm sitting here saying I kind of want Bruno to leave at the end of the year because I think we need to move on past the Bruno era. And a big part of that is thinking it's also going to give Kobbie a lot of potential time there. He's got a lot of time in his career. But I think the part that is very strange and the part that isn't true is it's presented in this weird way as if genuinely Ruben has a reason to not play Kobbie that is personal, and I want to know what it is. That's the suggestion. That's the part of it that doesn't make any sense when you start thinking it through. Why would Ruben not play Kabi. You know? It's not personal. Because you'll sit there and KG said this really well. Amram is fighting for his life every day. If he doesn't win a game, those same people are screaming to sack him. If we don't perform well, the same people are screaming to sack him. Every single day, screaming to sack him. He has to make decisions purely on the basis of what he can do, purely on the basis of what he thinks is going to win us games. That's it. He has to make that decision. It doesn't mean everything he's going to do is correct, but he has to make that decision. If he doesn't think that that's going to be the best thing to win games, so be it. So be it. You know? It's not personal. It's not personal. It's never personal. That's just not how it works. So, it's like, yeah, I mean, he plays Dallo because Dorgu isn't good and Shaw because he is good. Exactly. Like, I understand his picking of players. Look at Xerxes here, right? He picked Sheshko, Cunha, and such over him because he thinks they're better players than him. When he can't pick them, he picks Xerxes. Because in that instance, Xerxes is his best chance to win the football game. That's why Xerxes played the last 2 games. Because he's the best chance to win games in the current set of circumstances with no Sheshko and no Cunha. When Sheshko and Cunha come back, he'll pick them again over Xerxes because he's going to feel they give us the best chance to win football matches. And you know what? If Amram doesn't win enough football matches, he'll be sacked. So we'll be proven right or wrong on any of it. It's like, at the end of the day, that's it. And I'm not even going to get into, well, Kabi's bad, Kabi's doesn't. I'm not going to get into any of that because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Where would I play Kabi? Probably I would give him a run. Maybe I would give him a run in one of the 10s positions in a game where we want to dominate the game a little bit more. I'd probably put him in one of the 10s because he can do back to goal and he can turn and run. He got subbed a couple times in the 10 recently. I have a suspicion that Amram's going to try to get him into one of the 10s positions, maybe in the shorter turnaround this week, maybe. I hope so. I would like to see that. I'd like to see that try. But it's just what it is. You know what I mean? It's just where we are. It's just where we are. It's just what we have. I don't know. You know, I hear it too because I've brought the same critique of like, why Bruno and Casemiro? You know? But the problem that we have is right now is that I think, unfortunately, is that like Bruno hit the moments of magic. We require them. I'll tell you one of the biggest problems that we have. One of the biggest reasons we kind of can't sub Bruno or move him out of position. You know what the problem is? It's the center backs. That's one of the biggest issues. If De Ligt and Lenny can't progress the ball, then Ruben will never move away from Bruno Fernandes deep. And Casemiro as well. If De Ligt and Yoro cannot pass the ball forward competently, he will never shift from that midfield because it's his solution to that problem. He started it last year when Lisandro Martinez got injured. And it's very, very obvious that's why. In the second half of that game, Bruno dropped back deeper. He dropped back deeper into the back line and would have De Ligt give him the ball from 2 yards away so that he could dictate play. Why? Because they weren't progressing the ball up the pitch. Now, at that point, Shaw also ended up being a bit more aggressive. Dallo ended up being more aggressive, and it helped us. That's the reason, though. because until we have center backs that can dictate play, it's required of the midfield to drop deeper. And I don't even think Bruno has had a good game. But it is what it is. That's part of the problem. That's part of the problem that we have, and it's going to be hard to shift that. That's why we need midfielders who can pass and move, but it's also why we need more center backs. That's why as well, Mazraoui needs to start in that back line, and I think that the sub shows he'll probably start there on Thursday. He was constantly looking to go forward. That's what Mazraoui does. He brings an aggression going forward on the ball. My ideal pairing, my ideal mid center back. This sounds crazy. Maybe this isn't right to say. Let me say this. My ideal center back lineup for games where we're supposed to dominate possession is Mazraoui, Maguire, Shaw. Not counting Lissandro because of injuries. That would be the three I would play in games we're supposed to dominate. De Ligt has definitely been very, and I say it sounds crazy to say because De Ligt's been good this year. De Ligt is very, very, very good in these combative games when we're fighting against teams that are attacking us a lot. He's been very good at that defensively. He's not good with the ball yet. He's not brave with the ball yet. When we expect to control and have possession, it's been rough. Everton and Palace are examples of that. I would play Shaw, Maguire, and Mazraoui as my back three in games where we're going to have 60% possession. That's what I would do, with wingbacks wide. But it's tough. It's tough. We don't have the solutions there, but that's another one of those problems we can't really solve yet. But hopefully, in the future, we can. It's like we just have this cacophony, this carousel of flaws, of problems, and I don't think people realize that. And tying it back to the Mainu thing, it's like, unfortunately, there's no longevity in Mazraoui, Maguire, Shaw. Don't get me wrong. We need center backs. We also need to add a center back this summer, but there's a carousel of problems that essentially require our midfield to have attributes that Kobbie Mainoo isn't best at. It's just the truth. That doesn't mean Kobbie Mainoo isn't better at other things. It doesn't mean Kobbie Mainoo isn't really good. I'm talking about like horses for courses. The problems that we have in the team simply result in a situation that doesn't best make use of his attributes right now. And as we fix the team more, I think he's going to become very useful, very important. And I think we're going to really need his attributes. But we just have too many problems at the moment for the type of player that he is. If he was like an excellent sprayer of the ball, but couldn't dribble, I guarantee you he'd be playing right now. But it is what it is. The reason Lissandro can't be in the center is those big physical strikers. De Ligt still struggles occasionally. That's why I say Maguire, but Maguire's underrated in the way he plays against some of these bigger physical strikers. He really is underrated in that. But I'm not making it against the other because De Ligt's been very good this year. But I'm saying when we need to have the ball, if we could pass out the back more, we could change the midfield. But I hope that we make, and that's why, again, I hope we do some investment in January because it's going to help us. It's going to help us solve some of these problems that will maybe let us get more guys like Kobbie on the pitch. I was responding to something else, DB Cooper. Actually, I didn't actually see your comment. I saw something earlier and was responding to that. Cacophony. Yeah, cacophony is the word I used. That's it. That's all. I think investing in January would solve a hell of a lot of these problems, though. Would just give us more flexibility. Right now, it's like we always have to be so specific, and that's frustrating. That's tough. Yeah, that's really, really tough. I wish we could be more flexible, but yeah, we'll see. Please make sure to like the video while you're here. We've had 400 something, closing in on 500 people. Under 100 likes. I forget to put the poll up, and you know, people don't like the video the same way without the reminder. Please do smash a like on the video here. We have a short turnaround to Thursday. So tomorrow, I'll post the podcast with Phil first thing in the morning. It's already done. Probably do a live in the afternoon. Peter Hood with 10 gifted memberships to the community. Thank you very much. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you. Means a lot. And the timing is very, very good because I was going to say that I'm going to do a live tomorrow, but I'm also going to post a short video for members tomorrow on a different subject over there. But Peter, thank you for the gifted memberships, again, for supporting the community. Thank you so much. It means a lot. I really, really appreciate that. So we'll have the podcast in the morning, live in the afternoon. We'll have a short members video sometime tomorrow. Then on Wednesday, we'll have be recording another podcast with Samix and Andy from Footy with an Edge. We'll do our pre-match live and squad vote on Wednesday. Somehow, weirdly, we'll do it on Wednesday. Thank God we have a midweek game. Next year will be so much more fun. We'll do our squad vote and everything on Wednesday. And then obviously Thursday, it'll be pre-match show, watch the game, post-match chat, all of that kind of stuff. And then we'll already be into the weekend for everything else. So Friday will be a post-match podcast, and Saturday tactics, and Sunday back to pre-match vote again. I really wish we had more games because it's a much more fun schedule, filling the time with all of that. So it'll be nice at least that we get this for a short time, extra busy. Anyway, otherwise, thank you. And again, thank you to Peter. Thank you for Stuart for the gifted memberships. Thank you for all the donations and questions and things like that. Again, please do remember to get the likes in before you head out, as I'm going to end the video here in just a moment. We can at least get over 100 before we end off here. And that's it. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for everybody being here. Again, thank you all. I hope you've had having a good week. I hope your weekend was good. I hope you're doing well as we move in towards the holidays and all of that as well. And I will catch you all tomorrow. All right. Thank you all. Have a good rest of your day. See you later and good night. Bye, everybody.